The year is 1939. Europe, still scarred by the Great War, teeters on the precipice of another. The drums of war beat louder, their rhythm hypnotic, their message terrifying. From the ashes of humiliation, a wounded Germany rises, fueled by resentment and a thirst for vengeance. The Nazi Party seizes control. Hitler promises prosperity and a return to former glory. Across Europe, fear takes root. Nations watch as Hitler tightens his grip on power. His promises are laced with venom. The Nazi war machine sets its sights on conquest. Poland falls, then Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and France. The Nazi shadow stretches across Europe. Amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope flickers. Resistance movements rise. Ordinary men and women take up arms against an oppressive force. In occupied France, the Maquis wage their guerrilla war. In the forests of Eastern Europe, partisans launch daring raids. The fight for freedom has begun. From the ashes of a defeated Germany, a monster emerged. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic demagogue, rose to power on a wave of nationalistic fervor and economic despair. He promised his people greatness, a return to the glory days of the German Empire. His words, laced with venom and hate, resonated with a population yearning for a savior, a leader who could restore their pride. Hitler's rise was meteoric. He tapped into the darkest recesses of the human psyche, exploiting fear, resentment, and prejudice. His propaganda machine, relentless and pervasive, painted a seductive picture of a utopian future, a world cleansed of its impurities, a world dominated by the Aryan race. The Nazi Party, once a fringe group of disaffected veterans and nationalists, became an unstoppable force, sweeping aside all opposition. Hitler's true nature, however, was far more sinister. He was a megalomaniac, driven by a lust for power and a twisted ideology that preached racial purity and global domination. His regime was one of terror and oppression, marked by violence, intimidation, and genocide. Millions would perish in his death camps, victims of a hateful ideology taken to its horrific extreme. Even as the Nazi grip on Europe tightened, whispers of resistance began to circulate. Within the German military, a small but determined group of officers watched with growing unease. These men recognized the madness of Hitler's ambitions. They knew Germany could not win against the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and the United States. Among these dissenters was Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. He had witnessed firsthand the horrors of the Eastern Front. Stauffenberg came to believe that Hitler was not Germany's savior, but its destroyer. He knew that something had to be done. The German resistance was a dangerous game of shadows and whispers. Conspirators met in secret, their every move fraught with peril. They knew that discovery meant certain death, yet driven by their conscience and love for their country, they persisted. Section 4, Operation Valkyrie, a daring plan, takes shape. Operation Valkyrie, originally devised as a contingency plan to maintain order in the event of an internal uprising, became the blueprint for their daring plot. The conspirators, a diverse group united by their loathing of Hitler, planned to use Valkyrie to seize control of key government buildings and communication centers in Berlin. With Hitler dead, they would negotiate a peace settlement with the Allies, hoping to salvage something from the wreckage of the Third Reich. The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal. Success hinged on a series of events unfolding perfectly, a near impossibility in the chaotic reality of wartime. Yet the conspirators clung to hope, their desperation fueled by the knowledge that each passing day brought Germany closer to the abyss. Stauffenberg, thrust into a central role due to his access to Hitler, was tasked with the most dangerous part of the plan, assassinating the Führer. He knew that his chances of survival were slim, but he accepted his fate with stoic resolve. Driven by duty and a profound belief in the righteousness of their cause, Stauffenberg and his co-conspirators prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Section 5, The Wolf's Lair, a Moment of Truth. The date was July 20th, 1944. Stauffenberg, carrying a briefcase packed with explosives, arrived at the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's heavily guarded headquarters in East Prussia. The air thrummed with tension. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of floorboards seemed amplified, a testament to the enormity of what was at stake. Stauffenberg, his nerves steeled, entered the conference room where Hitler and his inner circle were meeting. He placed the briefcase, its deadly cargo ticking away. under the table near Hitler and excused himself to take a phone call. The bomb detonated, a thunderous roar that shook the very foundations of the wolf's lair. In the immediate aftermath, confusion reigned. Smoke filled the air, obscuring the scene. Stauffenberg, miraculously unscathed, made his escape, convinced that Hitler was dead. He raced back to Berlin, where the second phase of the plot, the seizure of power, was already underway. Section 6. The Valkyries' silence, a plan unraveled. News of the explosion at the Wolf's Lair sent shockwaves through Germany. But the conspirators' hopes were short-lived. Hitler had survived the blast, shielded from the full force of the explosion by the heavy oak table. Injured but alive, he vowed revenge on those who had dared to challenge his authority. The Valkyrie plot, so meticulously planned, began to unravel. Communication breakdowns, hesitant officers and unforeseen circumstances conspired against the conspirators. The news of Hitler's survival spread like wildfire, galvanizing the Nazi leadership. The coup, starved of momentum, faltered. Stauffenberg and his co-conspirators, their desperate gamble having failed, were hunted down and executed. The Nazi regime, shaken but not broken, launched a wave of brutal reprisals. Thousands were arrested, tortured and murdered. The Gestapo, Hitler's secret police, were unleashed, their reign of terror silencing any remaining whispers of dissent. Section 7. Legacy of Courage, Echoes of the Resistance. The July 20th plot, though ultimately unsuccessful, stands as a testament to the courage of those who dared to oppose Hitler's tyranny. It shattered the myth of unwavering Nazi support, revealing the cracks in the facade of unity that the regime had so carefully constructed. Though they failed to assassinate Hitler and overthrow the Nazi regime, the conspirators of July 20th left an indelible mark on history. Their act of defiance, born of desperation and fueled by a profound sense of moral duty, serves as a timeless reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit yearns for freedom. The legacy of the July 20th plot extends far beyond the confines